And then she grabbed my book bag, she threw it on me, and she sat down, and I just looked at her. And at the time, I'm just like, who are you? Why are you touching my stuff? Why are you sitting
Yeah.
next to me? You're listening to Cultureful, where strangers become neighbors. I'm your host, Jess Lynn. Today, I'm sharing the first part of a powerful 3-part series with Maria, a 20-something Mexican-American woman working in healthcare in the U.S. Maria's is an incredible story of resilience and the interconnectedness of family and community. From crossing the border as an infant using a borrowed passport, to navigating teen motherhood in high school, to fighting for educational and career opportunities despite her legal status. But before all of that, she was just a kid racing her neighborhood friends to play outside before the streetlights came on. In this first episode, we dive deep into those childhood memories of family, friendship, and the early influences that shaped her. And a note, because Maria grew up undocumented, and this is still an incredibly sensitive landscape and topic, to fully protect her privacy, we have changed names, dubbed her voice, and removed specific identifying details from our conversation. Along those same lines, while we usually post video versions of our interviews, this series will be audio only. Here's part 1 of my conversation with Maria. Hi, Maria.
Hey.
Welcome. How's it going today?
It's going good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming to share your story.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Let's begin with some background. Can you describe a bit what part of Mexico your family's from and what that area is like?
So I'm from a very small, very tiny little town. Not much to do. I've only been there once. It's nice. It's quiet. There's beautiful landscapes.
And can you describe your family before? What was your family's life like before deciding to move to the US?
If I'm being honest with you, I don't know much of that story just in and of itself because I was very young. I was anywhere between 6 months to about a year when my mom came over here. I do know that when she did come over here, she had to bring myself and my sister separately because at the time she only had the 2 of us. When she initially came over, she came over with me. Then she had to go back a little later to go back and get my sister and then eventually bring my sister over. And then not too long after that, she got pregnant with my little sister and had her.
What have you heard about that story in terms of how does she decide to come to the US?
She saw her life not really going anywhere when she was in Mexico. So she just wanted to come over here to try to build a better life for myself and my sister and herself and be able to work and just make something out of her and be able to give us the opportunities that we were given that she was not able to have over there.
The immigration landscape of the mid to late 1990s was being reshaped by the macroeconomic forces in the region. In December 1994, Mexico experienced a sudden, catastrophic currency devaluation known as the Mexican peso crisis. The resulting economic shockwaves decimated working-class savings, sent inflation skyrocketing, and destabilized employment across the country. For millions of families during this decade, migrating north was a direct response to a sudden economic collapse that left few avenues for survival at home. Do you know how old she was when she brought you?
She was about in her early 20s. Yeah.
So your sister was there with, was it grandparents or who was taking care of her?
Yeah, she was there with my grandparents and my aunts and my uncles. They took care of her while my mom came over here with me and established everything over here enough to feel comfortable to go back and get her.
Was it just your mom bringing you by herself, or was she traveling with other folks? Do you know anything about that part of the history?
I think she was traveling with other folks. So between my older sister and I, we come from a different dad than my younger sister. And at the time, my mom was with him and his family. And that's what kind of allowed her to come over here because they had initially already started coming over here little by little themselves, and they had somewhere to stay. So therefore, she was staying with them, and it just made the transition a little easier. It's literally just been us from my mom's side of the family.
What was your mom like when she was young?
Honestly, the only thing I know about my mom, how she was in a young stage, is just the fact that she has had this one best friend she's always been friends with. Um, we've met her, we've hung out with her, we've taken vacations with her. She is my older sister's godmother, so I get to hear like little stories about how my mom was at a younger age through her, but I don't get to hear too many just because we don't get to see her as often. She lives in a different state. But my mom was just um, like your normal average girl. She went to school, worried about school things, got into trouble, and like little mischief things with her best friend. She was telling me about this one time that they went, I believe they skipped school and that they almost got caught by her dad because her dad went to a store and he almost
Uh-huh.
found them and they had to hide. Um, I honestly don't know much about my mom's childhood. I do know that it was never a dull moment because she has a lot of siblings.
And grandparents, what are they like?
My grandma, unfortunately, I only got to meet her when I was an infant, and then she passed away when I was in elementary school. So I don't remember too much about her. My grandfather was very loving, very sweet, did anything he could to help anybody out. He was, oh, you're in a problem? Okay,
Hmm.
cool. Go to him. He'll figure it out. He'll give you the solution. Um, yeah, he was he was just a very, very nice person. He was funny. He was very passionate about his work. He owned a mechanic shop for trailers, so he was very on the fact that he really liked working on trailers and things like that. He owned the shop, and then he also owned a little store in El Centro. They lived in the same town as always. They never moved anywhere, went anywhere. They had the house they grew up in is on the street right here. And literally, you walk up the hill and
Uh-huh.
it's my uncle's house. They're very close to each other, not far. Yeah, a majority of my family still resides in that one little town.
Back to you and your mom. How is she able to bring you over the border?
I know very little about how we came over here. I do know that when I initially crossed, I did not cross using any of my identifications or form of identifications. She actually used one of my cousin's passports to be able to get me to cross. Because since I was so young, she was so young, like honestly, they couldn't really tell the
Yeah.
difference in the
Yeah.
sense of
Yeah.
like, okay, let's look
Uh-huh.
at this picture. This baby is not the baby in the picture. So that's what I do know. I do know that we did use my cousin's passport to be able to bring me over.
Wow.
Yeah.
The late 1990s was a transitional era in U.S. border enforcement, one that existed before the post 9/11 creation of the Department of Homeland Security and the massive centralization of digital surveillance. In the 90s, ports of entry relied almost entirely on manual visual inspections of physical paper documents, while the Immigration and Naturalization Service, or INS, had introduced its first automated biometric database, known as ident, in 1994. The technology was only in its infancy and primarily targeted adult repeat crossers. In this pre-digital era, the lack of centralized databases and biometric verification made manual document oversight highly porous, a system radically different from the biometric tracking and facial recognition infrastructure used today. Do you know your mom's documentation status when she arrived?
She was on a visa. She was on just a visitor's visa.
Okay, I see. So for the first few years, How was settling in for your mom and your family? Like, what do you know of that time when you were really little?
Um, I do know that when we initially came over, we did move into an apartment. It was a little cramped. It was a little small. I don't remember too much about the apartment, but I do know that we moved out of that apartment when my sister was born, just because at the time it was her, her partner, and then I believe us two all in the same room. So four people in one room already makes it pretty cramped. Then to add another
Yeah.
baby. So we
And
just in general needed more space. So we moved into a house.
how was your mom able to support you all?
So she wasn't working at the time. My mom actually relied on her partner for a majority of settling in and being able to financially support all of us. She actually didn't go into working herself until my younger sister went to elementary school.
So, what did her partner do and what did she do after?
He was a construction worker. And then when she started working, just being like a custodian, she'd get the discounts, she'd
Uh-huh.
get the store credit, she'd get all these little benefits. And then she'd be like, okay, we're going here, we're going here.
Uh-huh. Because,
And
I
then she
mean,
got an employee discount. And I was
yeah,
like, you know what? I'm not going to fight it.
that's not a bad place to get employee discounts for as a kid
It's
and for your
not.
family because they have a lot of stuff.
They do. And honestly, back then, it wasn't as expensive as it is now. So to be shopping for a bunch of kids, you kind of got to go where it works for your wallet.
For sure, for sure. That's an interesting way to help make it work. To work for somewhere where like there's good discounts.
Right. And you can benefit from it, especially
Yeah.
when you have children that are consistently growing, consistently like moving from one size up all the time. Because she had us such close in
Uh-huh.
age to where, okay, if the oldest grew out of it, then it went to me. Then if I grew out of it, then it went to the next one.
Uh-huh.
And we just got to be able to rotate ourselves through each other. So that way, whenever we needed something new, it's like, okay, we tried to rotate all of this through everybody. It doesn't fit anybody. We just need new clothes.
So your older sister was the only one that like usually got something new.
Not the only one, but she
Uh-huh.
was the main one because she was the first in
Yeah.
line.
The size line.
Yes, the size line. And growing up, we honestly always shared a room. We shared a room up
You and her?
until, no, all of us. We were in a room. I honestly don't think we all started getting our own room until the youngest was in high school.
Wow. And were y'all close?
At that point, you kind of have no choice. You don't get any space or distance from each other. You got to be able to fight and do the silent treatment with each other. But that only lasted so long because, again, you're such in a close encounter space with them all the time. You can't run away.
So tell me about your childhood a little bit more. Like, what did you play with? Who did you play with? What kind of stuff did you do? Who was around?
Once we moved from the apartment, we moved into a house. Their aunt still owns the house. And I think it's really cool the fact that it's still within the family. But growing up, we lived in a house where it was us, my parents, or my mom and her partner, my aunt, her two kids, my grandma, my uncle, and his wife eventually moved in at some point. And we had other people living with us, just renting rooms. So it was a very full house all the time. So I mainly had my sisters, my cousin, and then we had neighborhood friends. There were these two friends that lived down the hill that we played with a lot. There was another friend that lived up the hill, a couple houses down, and then another friend that lived in the hill behind my house. So it was just a whole cluster of us. We would get home. We would try to do our homework as quick as possible as we could so we could get outside. The whole thing was to get outside as soon as possible because we had the rule that as soon as the street light came on, everybody had to go home. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Oh,
And
that
if you
was.
didn't get home, you were going to get
Uh-huh.
in trouble.
So then you guys were like, let's maximize our playtime. Like, hurry, finish your homework, let's go.
Exactly. Since there were so many of us, we would literally just race and see who was done the fastest. And as we finished, it was not like we had to finish. We had to wait for everybody to finish before we got to leave. It's whoever finished gets to go. So we would finish it. We would show it to our mom and be like, cool, we're done. It's like we did it. We put it away. We would just run out of the house and run down the hill and kind of just meet everybody down the hill. Because the two friends that I had that lived down the hill, their house was like the meetup spot. We always met up there. We played there. They had a trampoline. I believe their uncle built us a clubhouse. So we had anything and everything we needed down there.
Wow, this is before kids mostly played on screens. This is when kids still mostly played in person.
Exactly. And we were very big on that. Yeah, there was an abandoned truck within the cul-de-sac that we kind of just made our truck. And we just played with it all the time. We'd get in, we'd get in the back, we'd pretend we're driving, we'd pretend, just all sorts of kind of things. And then there was a lady that lived across the street from their house, and she was very sweet. She was actually one of the lunch ladies at our school. And so we made friends with her, and she had this dog that they would kind of let loose. He was a German Shepherd, very sweet, very loving. He was just like the neighborhood dog. And so then we would go play with the dog.
Is this when your love of dogs started? Because spoiler for the listener, you now have 3 dogs.
I honestly don't know where it came from. And ironically, as it is that I have 3 dogs and they're big dogs, I used to be scared of big dogs.
Well, because the big dogs used to be bigger compared to your size. Maybe.
I know, but with this one dog, I never had a bad experience. I actually had a bad experience with the dog that my family owned.
Oh.
There was this one dog. I honestly don't even remember the breed of it. I don't remember the age. I honestly just remember the fact that it was a female dog and she was very, very aggressive. She gave me a horrible experience. So I kind of leaned on the neighborhood dog to get rid of my fear because he was a very loving dog. I did not ever have a problem with him. But growing up, I just had a very strong love-hate relationship with dogs. It wasn't until I moved out of my mom's house and I got my own dog that it genuinely took off, and I just really wanted to have my own dog all of the time.
And now you have 3.
And now I have 3.
You have your own dog times 3.
I do. I have my own little pack. And occasionally I take care of my friends' dogs. So then I just add dogs to my dogs, and it's just, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love it. And honestly, I don't complain whenever they ask me to watch them.
Because you're a dog person now.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm a very big dog person. My daughter is very insistent on the fact that she wants a cat. And I'm like, no.
She can come to my house and play with my cat.
I will gladly take her.
Yeah.
Because she's a very big cat person. I don't mind the cats, but it's just, I don't trust my dogs.
With cats?
No, because whenever they see a cat outside, they'll run and dart after it and try to get it. And I'm like, come here. It's fine. It's just another animal. Just leave it alone.
But yeah, dogs and cats really speak different languages. Like a dog's like, let's play. And a cat's like, oh my gosh, are you attacking me? Get away from me.
Exactly.
Why are you so hyper? Yeah.
I have big dogs. They're very hyperactive, but they're the sweetest dogs you'll ever meet. They just don't know how to approach you without being intimidating because they will run after you. And whenever you think a dog's running after you, you don't know whether or not it's a good or bad interaction. Mine just really want to go up to you because they want to lick you or hug you or give you some type of affection. But when they're coming at you, they kind of don't know when to stop. It's just like they'll run into you.
Yeah, their love language is just so different. Yeah.
One is very good on showing affection. The other one is very not.
I think my cat shows affection. It's just in very subtle ways.
I personally have never exexperienced a cat showing me affection.
My cat will come and sit on my lap or rub against my leg or make cookies on my lap or nudge me with his head because he wants me to pet him. But it's very calm, and it only happens when no one else is around. He doesn't want anyone else to see.
Exactly. And that's my problem with them. You have to like be in the moment with them and you have to have like the connection for them to be able to show
Uh-huh.
you the affection. I don't stay long
Yeah.
enough to build the connection, so I don't get to see it.
It's
So I'm
true.
like,
It's true.
you're fine, as opposed to a dog who will give you affection from the moment you touch them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Back to when you were a kid. Wait, your grandma was there and your uncle? Was it your mom's mom?
No, it was my mom's partner's mom,
Oh, okay.
so my little sister's grandma.
Oh, and the uncle also was like your little sister's
Uncle.
okay.
Hmm.
Uncle.
So all the family members that we stayed with were my mom's partner's family members. It was never any of like my mom's family.
And did they feel like they were your family too?
Growing up, yes, I never felt anything less than as family.
After the break, Maria shares vivid memories with Grandma and how someone she hated eventually became her best friend. Hey, neighbor, it's Jess. I want to welcome our newest listeners from Overcast to the Cultureful community. Overcast listeners, I'm so glad you saw our banner recently and found us. Welcome. We're so happy you're here and to see the Cultureful neighborhood growing. And to all listeners, if you've been enjoying this neck of the woods, where we hear from other real people about how they live life, where no one is reduced to a stereotype and no one is put on a pedestal for any traditional markers of success, but instead, where we can be human to human together. Help us grow this community. Text this episode to one friend who would see how this is a special thing we're building. Thanks. And now, back to my conversation with Maria. Of the adults that were in your life when you were really young, like, who were you close to?
I was very close to my mom. If I had a problem, my mom. If I needed somebody, my mom.
Were you close to like that grandma?
I was. She wasn't biologically my grandma, but she was my grandma growing up. Like she watched after
Mm-hmm.
us when my mom had to work. She took care of us. She actually took care of these two other kids, and she'd get paid for taking care of them. And we ended up being really, really close to them as
Mm-hmm.
well. I forgot about them. We also had them growing up.
It was a full house. It
It
was
was
a
always a
full
full
house.
house. There was literally
Yeah.
always something happening at my grandma's house. She was the house we went to for the holidays and things like that.
Any memories with grandma that stick out? Or how would you describe her and what was she into?
She's actually the reason I got into word searches. As weird as it sounds,
Really?
yes. Her biggest thing were word searches, watching her little novelas,
Uh-huh.
um, making food. Um, so growing up, she got us into watching novelas. That's how our love with novelas
Uh-huh.
started to happen. And we would get home, we would watch like one or two episodes or whatever came out. It was like clockwork. Like everybody had to get into the living room. Everybody had to get everything ready. And then, back then we would have commercial breaks. So it's like, cool, this person goes to get this
Snacks?
person goes to get
Uh-huh.
this person goes to the bathroom. Like it would all have like it would have to be planned. And then one person would have to stay in front of the TV and tell us when it was coming back on.
Oh, wow. It's religious. Religious
She is
novella
actually the
watching.
reason it is. It was a religious routine of watching. It wasn't even novellas. Like after that, it was like we built a
Uh-huh.
routine. So whenever it came on to our like specific favorite shows, we had the whole system already worked out. And she was the reason we got into novellas. And she was the reason I got into word searches.
Uh-huh.
I'm very big on word searches, which I think it's ironic because my husband will literally walk in and see me doing it because I have my headphones in and I'll do it. And he's like, "You're such an old lady." And I'm like, "Leave me alone." That's
Turns
offensive.
out you learned that from an old lady.
I did. I
Yeah.
very much did. And I loved it. I don't know what it is about it. I like little mind puzzle games,
Uh-huh.
and I want to say that she is the reason that I like them because, again, she used to do them while we were growing up.
Did she do them with you or do you just like watch her that you just noticed that she would do it a lot?
Yeah, I would
Uh-huh.
watch her. She would always get these little books that had like a bunch of them in it, and I would just watch her. And then one day she just looked at me and she's like, "You want to try it?" I was like, "Yeah." And she just gave me the book and I started finding all the words.
What was her um, cultural background and heritage?
She was Mexican.
And so was she doing the word searches in Spanish or in English?
In English, actually.
Huh. Her English was good.
No, no, not at all. But as far as word searches, you kind of it's a matching game. So you kind of
Uh-huh.
you find a word, you make sure all the letters are there, and you just kind of match it up. So it was super easy to her. But as far as her English, she was never really good at English unless she wanted to say something funny.
And unless she wanted to say something funny.
In the sense of like cussing somebody out or flipping them off,
Then she would
like
use
little
English.
things like that.
She had the English for that.
Yes, she understood the phrases.
Uh-huh.
Once we started growing up and we understood the phrases and we started saying the phrases, and then they would eventually catch on to us about what we were saying. She caught on. And so in a
Uh-huh.
way we taught her.
You taught her all like the sassy and like the more
And
colorful language.
exactly. And how to flip
Uh-huh.
a bird and things like that. And she took advantage of it.
What were like, do you remember, were there like a couple of dishes that she like that you'd be really excited
There's so
that she
many.
made?
But honestly, there's only two that I would be so excited if I could taste them all
Uh-huh.
over again. One of them is sofrita de frito. It's literally just a soup, but it's super good. Like she would make it from scratch, and just her recipe was so much better than any other version I've tried.
With what kind of protein it would be in it?
Nothing.
Vegetables?
No vegetables. It would be little noodles that would either be in the form of the ABCs, numbers, or like these little stars.
Oh,
But
like for kid, okay. Like letter soup.
letter soup, yes.
And what else would be in it?
She would use tomatoes, onions, like there would be vegetables, but it would be pureed.
Oh.
It's like a tomato soup,
And the color of it is like, looks like a tomato soup.
but a little more on the orange side rather than the red side. We loved it.
Oh, yummy. I feel like kids would like that with like the letters. It's cute.
Whenever she would make
Uh-huh.
it, she would literally say, "The sofrita is done," and we would all run to the kitchen. Everyone would grab their bowl. Some of us would put cheese in it. Some of us would put Valentina in it.
What's that?
And then we would eat it with saltines.
What's Valentina?
It's Mexican hot sauce.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
So we would put that in it, and then we would eat it with saltine crackers or just by itself. And then we would just keep going until the pot was empty. And it wasn't just me and my sisters. It was my cousins. It was the two other kids that she would take care of. Like anybody that stepped foot into the house knew about it. Titas sofritas. It was just really good. And then the other one would be her tamales. I would give
What kind?
anything to get her tamales. I think she would do them. I want to say pork with a red spicy sauce. And then she would do another one that was raisins with something else. I don't remember what it was. It was a sweet version of it. Personally, I never liked that one growing up, so I just didn't touch it. So I went after the other ones, which were the pork-filled ones. But yeah, if I could have her make me anything like in my life, it would be those two.
Is she still around?
She is not. She unfortunately passed away a couple years ago.
Oh, dang. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Your mom and her partner, are they still together?
They are not.
Are you still in touch with like those family members that are kind of like...
I am not. I actually fell out of touch with them. My sisters still talk to them, but me personally, I fell out of connection and out of touch with them.
Was that hard for you?
It's an adjustment growing up. Just because, growing up, I had a lot of people I would go hang out with around holidays, and we had traditions, and we had things that we did. So it's an adjustment. But as you get older, you start creating your own traditions, And then I started creating my own traditions with my husband. So it got a lot easier.
It sounds like your childhood was full of a lot of friends and neighbors and play. And it sounds like, yeah, it's just, there was so much community.
There was a lot of community, there was a lot of quality time and just building connection with people. I have now fell out of touch with all those people because, life happens, people moved, but I still have them on social media. I still see how they're doing in life and what's going on with them right now. So it's nice getting little glimpses of where they are in life
Hmm.
nowadays.
And middle school, like what were you like when you kind of were, getting into your preteen years?
It was a little bit of an adjustment in the beginning because I did move around to a few different middle schools.
Undocumented children in the United States are able to attend school because of a foundational legal precedent, the 1982 Supreme Court decision Plyler v. Doe. The court ruled that denying access to public K 12 education based on immigration status violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Under this mandate, public school systems are legally prohibited from denying enrollment to children or requiring proof of legal documentation. This established K 12 schooling as a universal right for any child residing in the country, a guarantee of education that ends at high school, right before major barriers in higher education and legal employment begin.
So when I had transitioned into middle school is when we officially moved out of the house that I grew up in, like the childhood home and my mom and her partner and everybody. We were just trying to get our own space, our own living space. You kind of just need more space than just two bedrooms. So we moved into a house, and then I don't remember why we moved out of that house.
How were you handling all these moves?
Not well. Did not like it. I was not very good with the moves. I did not like the new changes. I did not like being the new girl at a school where it was just me. Because I had gone all of my elementary years with my sisters or with my cousin or with my friends who lived down the street. I always had somebody to talk to. I always had somebody.
You were never the new girl.
I was never the new girl, and I was never alone. Because again, I always had at least my sisters go to the
Mhm.
same school with me. So this is my first time in a new school by myself. Did not know anybody. I hated it. I did not adjust well to the first middle school that I went to. And I want to say I did a little bit better on the time we moved to the second school that I went to, because that is actually where I met my best friend. We're no longer best friends now. We had a falling out, but we were best friends for quite some time. And that's ironically where I met her. She was the reason I was able to
Mhm.
transition a little bit better than I did for the first middle school, because I actually had her to lean on and just be like, "Hey, help me."
What were you guys up to? What were you guys into and up to?
In middle school,
Yeah. Middle school, I feel like is really interesting age where, like elementary school, sometimes kids are starting to get into certain things, but then like interests start to become like more apparent a little bit and like personalities start to become a little bit more apparent, but you're still a kid.
at the time, boys.
Uh-huh.
That was like the
Uh-huh.
main thing.
Uh-huh.
But besides that, we never necessarily got into an activity. We would kind of just stay to ourselves and just like find little things that we would chit chat about and talk about. She
Mhm.
was in a grade above me, so we didn't really run in the same circle necessarily because she was in a grade above. But we would just hang out and talk. And it was a lot of hanging out in school because we both had very strict parents to
Uh-huh.
where we couldn't hang out too much out of school. But if we ever did meet up out of school, it would just be going to the mall, walking around, doing a little bit of shopping, just spend the day together, and then go home and then go back to texting and just talking about anything, everything.
And it was just like the two of you.
Yes.
Mhm. It's interesting that you had a best friend who was in a different grade. How did that happen?
So we actually met on the bus. We took the same bus route. And initially, when I first had a real interaction with her, we genuinely hated each other. Like we could not stand each other. There was this guy that was trying to talk to her on the bus, and he would always try to sit with her. And his brother would always try to sit with me. So one day we just sat together, and it was funny because I was the first one to get on the bus, and I always put my book bag next to me. So nobody would sit next to me because I was just like, leave me alone, don't talk to me. I was a very, I'm going to keep to myself type of person. So I stayed by myself, did not talk, did not do anything. And then she grabbed my book bag, she threw it on me, and she sat down. And I just looked at her. And at the time, I'm just like, who are you? Why are you touching my stuff? Why are you sitting next to me? And we just sat like that the whole ride to the school because I was in the morning route and we didn't say anything. We didn't talk. And then in the afternoon, she decided to do it again. So I looked at her. I was like, all right, what up? What's up? Like, why are you touching my stuff? Why are you sitting here?
Yeah.
She was like, I don't know. I want to sit here. So I'm just like, okay. So we sat in silence on the bus ride home. She got off the bus first, then I got off the bus second. And then after that, we kind of just kept sitting next to each other. And little by little, we would talk and we were like, okay, cool. I don't necessarily hate you. I don't not like you. But in the beginning, we genuinely could not stand each other. And if you were to ask her, she would tell you the same thing.
Did she ever tell you why she sat next to you?
To avoid that guy sitting next to her.
Oh, she was trying to sit next to a girl.
Anybody that was already in a seat, so that way he wouldn't sit next to her.
Oh, I see.
And apparently I was just the first one that she saw. So she's like, okay, cool. Let me grab your book bag, throw it on you, and sit down. I was like, okay.
That is a very vivid memory of how you met a friend. I feel like most people don't have such vivid memories.
Because she was that vivid. She was that like impressionable for me to remember how I met her.
Yeah.
And we had many people ask us this like multiple times. So we just got to sit there and kind of see each other, tell the point of view of how we met.
Yeah, because that is like a very memorable first interaction.
It is, because it's like, why are you touching my stuff?
Yeah.
Who are you?
I'm glad I asked. That was a really fun story. Yeah.
It's a very interesting story.
Let's take a 5-minute stretch break.
Okay.
That was part 1 of my conversation with Maria. In part 2, she shares about her teenage pregnancy, from the vivid memories and feelings of finding out that she was pregnant, to how she, despite all odds, was able to keep her daughter and finish high school with her class. Follow or subscribe so you don't miss it. Also, we want to hear how Maria's childhood story resonated with you. If you're listening on Overcast or your favorite podcast app, just tap the screen right now to open the episode notes. You'll find a link right at the top to drop a comment on Instagram. We read every single note and read some on here too. A special shout out this week to our founding supporter, Emily C., who wrote, "Love listening to this podcast and wholeheartedly believe in sharing more of these kinds of stories." Thanks, Emily C., for supporting this mission. You can join Emily C. as a Cultureful supporter at the link in the show notes. Whether you're a longtime listener from Germany, thanks for being regular listeners over there, or newer listeners like folks who have just found us on Overcast, we are so happy you're here and that the Cultureful community is growing. Share this episode with one friend who would love these stories and want to join our community, so we can keep growing the Cultureful neighborhood. This episode was produced and edited by me, with executive production support from Ruben Yana Ruben. Thank you for listening. I'm Jess Lynn. Take care of yourself and your neighbors, and I'll see you soon.